Stan Cloyd here, Mesa, Arizona. Several years ago I bought a MillRiserBlock kit for my mill, and because of a video that Dale Derry did on it in 2016, I believe, and then in 2017, why our gentleman from Australia, Bruce Whitman, did a 10-minute segment where he actually started lifting the top of his mill to put a block in. We never really saw the back part of it. The block that Dale Derry put in was built for a Bridgeport, as was this one, and he said it fit his Inco perfectly. But I looked and looked, I couldn't find dimensions on my mill from Grizzly anywhere. This block from Eisen Machinery Works on Facebook actually had a metric print or sketch that showed what its dimensions were. Without having dimensions on the machine, I had to buy it without knowing if it would fit, without being modified or make other parts to make it fit. During that, I found one of these YouTube deals. It was not just an open box special, but a broken box special. The box was shattered. I've been gluing pieces of wood into it. I still need to repair it a little bit. And the battery in this one was dead long before I got it. But I brought it back to life, and it gave me some pretty good dimensions once I had everything apart. I've done a sketch here that shows in millimeters what all these distances are. I actually had the mill apart because I had to test my lifting devices. But in metric, here's all my dimensions. I'm calculating I'm not as good with the scale as old timers, but I'm calculating somewhere between 5 and 15 thousandths clearance on the top and between 25 and 45 on the bottom, depending on how many times you make a measurement. So that's my crude sketch of that. But there again, I bought it, and it sat around here for 3 years at least without me knowing if it was ever going to work. On Build Something Cool, one of the comments from the viewers was he wanted to see him put it in because it was talked about why you want to do it, it was justified and all that, but there was really no action. So how it was put in remains a mystery, especially in some of these shops like I had and like Bruce Whitman had, where you got maybe a 7 or 8 foot ceiling tops. And one of the problems I had before when I got this mill in here was that if I wanted to pull the drawbar, I had to tip the head over because it hit the ceiling before it got there. As it was, I had to cut out part of a ceiling joist to put in sisters next to it to get it so I could run the head back and forth on my mill. And so when I bought this, it came with a new spider, 4 hardened steel bolts, and some hardened washers. And I knew I had to have longer bolts, but I was like, what's up with the spider? And then I realized that the Grizzly 0797 mill has 12 millimeter bolts and a spider that's tapped for that. And these are more like the traditional Bridgeport half-inch 13 threads per inch bolts, drawbar, hardened and all that. And so I've been working on a hoist over there. You may have seen the video that's not complete yet. And I picked up the whole mill with it, so I know that it's got the strength, but I've got to optimize the pulleys a lot. This is the eye screw that came in the top of the Bridgeport mill. And I thought, well, I don't know if that's going to be English or metric. It came from the Pacific Rim. But it turns out that this is a 3/4 10 thread. And then as I was setting up my lifting fixture, I found out they only tapped it deep enough to get this in there. So I went ahead and tapped it all the way through. The top of the casting is 1.5 inches thick. So I've got an extra 1/2 inch of all thread down inside the top casting, just to be sure. Because, yeah, you're only lifting maybe 1,200, 1,500 pounds to lift the top, but I'm still real nervous about things like that. Okay, and then with the second hoist, this thing, yeah, 1 or 2 men could lift it, but it's kind of not the thing we do anymore. So I made a device to get in there and lift it with. This is my lifting device. And when I got it, I didn't even know the toe had to go down until I got things apart. And the other thing is, once I put it in there, I can just drop that. It'll go for the ride, and it'll be there if I ever want to pull this out. So that was kind of cool. It's just a piece of 1/2 inch pipe with an old hammock ring welded to it. Because this thing is, I don't know, I don't know what it weighs. I've forgotten. But I thought it was cool it came with the extra hardware. Now why they sent me 4 extra hard steel nuts, I have no idea. Probably find that out en route. Alright, we're going to pause this and edit that in. Okay, here we have the long shot of the mill prep for the hoisting operation. If you look up at the top and zoom in, I've marked, I put a bullseye centroid over the balance point, and I've got a level there, so when you do lift it, if you're out of level, you can get an air ratchet and move the pivot point so that it hangs straight. And this is a big deal when you're putting it back together. The other thing is having the center of gravity there and having the ram pushed back means that if you didn't have a hoist on it and those arrows are lined up, it wouldn't fall over onto the front of your table or your vise and onto the floor, which is not something I want to have happen. Now Mr. Woodham, when he got in there to work on his, he drilled a hole in the side of the base to get in there so he could reach the frog. With the Grizzly version, they've got an access port down there on the side. It's a little low, but you can reach up and hold the frog in place while you're getting it all going. Now, when I release these bolts, when the last one's released, you'll hear that frog drop and fall into the sump underneath. Here we go. Getting everything set for this shot, I got in there and I fished the old spider out of the sump, which has a fair amount of whale oil in it. I haven't pumped it out this year, so I know how much I'm using. This is the new English spider, and there are shelves cast into the base that you can set this on when you're putting it together. The only problem is you have to spin it 90 degrees if you put the turret on straight this way to get the bolts in, but it's better than trying to monkey it all the way up. So we'll get to that later. That's the name of that tune. Like I said, there's only a couple inches of whale oil in there right now. It's not too bad for me. This experimental hoist is still under development in my book, so I don't really load it up really hard right now. There is a shot of me on YouTube lifting 3,000 pounds or the entire mill with it, but until I've redone it all, I don't want to do that ever again. Alright, take baby for a ride. There's an M in the front, and that is a witness mark to match the M on the mill base, so when you get them together you're not having to spin it. It's a bit of a push here because I don't have things working for me as well as with the other setup. But still, those clearances must have been correct. It fits quite well. Okay. Alright, I can actually leave that in there if I want. Then I'll put this experimental one away until I get time to rebuild it again. There we go. Alright. Into part 2 here. Come on, baby. Go, go, go. This troller's a little sticky. They're cheap. Alright, we got to lift her up about another 6 inches. I'm going to stop and refocus here. Alright, now you can all watch me work a little bit. Like I said, the one guy wanted to see it done. Okay, watch. Huh. Like I said, that trowel's a little weird. It doesn't want to stay centered real well. It's cheap. Okay, we got that one out of the way. Now lower down. Alright. Yeah. Lower down some more. Push it enough to make her pop in. There she went. Drop in place. There it went. Way to go. Continue on? I guess so. Where's my good bolts? Oh, they're over here. Bolts with hard washers. Alright. Ha! What are the odds? Well, the witness marks worked because I'm dropping right through the bolt holes in the bottom of the block, hitting them on target, which I didn't think that would happen. I thought 6 inch might be a little short, but now I look at it, it might be a little high. Now, the cheating way to get to that riser block is to set a stool in there. Because it's hard on your posture otherwise. Might want to move this table over a little bit too. Although I've got my DRL sitting there, I don't want to knock that off. There we go. Oh, one more. There's a special tool that makes it a lot easier when you can't see what you're doing. Line-up rod. Get that in here. We're going to take a bolt out. Use a line-up rod to get that frog or that spider to start being where it needs to be. Because we can feed this down and have it down where I can see it down here. And when I start the spider on it, good to go. Oh, the bolts are in the way. You got to pull them all out. You got to put them in one at a time. You can't do it like I did. Now you're seeing me do something I haven't done before. This part of it. Don't trip. And we're going to pull these all out, start them one at a time. Just glad to know they fit. So far, so good. Okay. I'm going to get this down and in place. You can tell I didn't clean the inside of the machine or blow it out or anything because I'm getting dusty. Alright. That should be about right. I'm kind of working blind almost at this point. If you had a second man helping you, it would help a lot. You see a lot more what you're doing. There we go. Get it lined up. Nope. That begs to be a two-man job right there. Woo. I'm going to stop, get one started. You've seen enough of that struggle. Alright, back to work. All the bolts are started, the spider's up in there. We can run them down, back them up, and then check it all out, and I'll get up there and unhook the hoist. Well, we're back on. I cleared all the hoists out of the way. The bolts are still tight on the turret, so we haven't seen if it actually how easy or hard it is to spin it. But one of the design criteria for this was to make sure that no matter what I did, I could still get the draw bolt in and out. And as you can clearly see, the fixture doesn't hurt. So can I get the draw bolt out, or does it keep me from getting the draw bolt out? Alright, is it going to hurt anything to leave this on here? Is it going to be in my way in any way? Not unless I get a slaughter. Okay. The pen said no, twice. Alright. I'm going to pull my ladder out. Oh, one more thing. How tall is it to the top of the thingy? Well, let's get a tape and find out. Back on the air. Alright, let's get that measurement. Yeah, I know, never step on your table, right? Drop it down. What do we got here? With the 6-inch riser block, it is 91.5 inches to the top of the motor. So that is 7'7", 7'8" to the top of the motor. Then on the way down, I want to check how far it is to the quill bolt. So I may have to either get an air operator or a platform to stand on. Ah, 6'9" to the quill bolt. Can I reach that? Just barely. Be a stretch. All right. Let's loosen her up, see how she spins, because right now with the ram all the way back, it's pretty well balanced on the pedestal. Loosen that up. But, okay. It can't get away, but loosen her up. All new stuff. All right. Now, how much of a pain in the ass is it? Okay, ouch. There's a sharp spot there. And I should have put some grease under it. Oh well. Nothing ventured. Now, one thing is, my degree witness marks over here don't match up anymore. So, that's something to think about. I'll have to put a mechanical pointer that goes up if I want that to be something important. Meantime, tighten that thing up. Okay. Probably be a 3-part video after editing and cutting. And I may have to add some comments to it once I learn how to do that. I'm sure there'll be more than just a few questions. Now, for Dale Derry's interrogator that wanted to actually see it happen, well, it happened. See the dirt? That means I didn't clean my machine out. It's just as dirty as the day it came from China. All right, that's a wrap. Cutting room floor. Also, in one of the Build Something Cool videos by Dale Derry, he went over how to build one of these crank anchors. I had an extra crank that was shipped defective from Grizzly, so I cut the handle off, put it in a rotary table, and milled a hex on it for a standard 1 1/16 socket. So now you can put this on here like so, put this on here like so, and raise and lower your table. I'm going to refocus and show you something different here.